welcome to Live Interactive English. Hello everyone, I'm Mike.
And I'm Sam.
And today's Sam, since we're getting into the month of April, the weather's starting to warm up, summer is definitely on the way. And of course, here in Taiwan, summer means heat. Heat, 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 heat. It's going to be hot, 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 hot. But actually here, it doesn't really get super hot until July, August, you know.
Yeah.
Then it kind of stays hot. But if you want to get a little bit of a head start on the heat, we have some suggestions for you today and tomorrow in our article. And the good news is, the place you're going to go, or the place we recommend you go, is not too far away. There's probably many, many flights every day. It's a popular place. And once you get there, you will be able to cool off very easily.
Yes, and we are talking about Bangkok in Thailand.
Yes, in April, right now.
Yes, and there is something very, very special that happens there. It's a very big celebration. All about water.
Yeah.
And if you have ever seen, you might have seen it or you might have seen pictures of it. It basically turns into a giant water fight. Yeah. And everybody's got squirt guns and water balloons and all this kind of stuff. And it's just a big party, honestly.
Absolutely. So of course, with our title, Big Heat, Water Fights and Street Feasts, Bangkok in April, you get a pretty good idea of what will be going on in the capital of Thailand in the month of April. I think the water festival, it kind of happens all over the country, but of course many people live in Bangkok, so you'll find a lot of the best action there. The big heat, that's just another way of saying it's really, really hot. And once you cool off with your water fight, you can have a street feast. In other words, there's lots of great food you can have in the markets. You can walk around and do it. You might have to protect your food from getting wet.
Yeah.
So maybe, save the feasts for after the fights. But it's all happening in Bangkok. It's all happening now. It's not far away. And if you don't go this year, it might be something you want to check out in the future. So let's find out all about it. Remember, bring a towel. Bangkok is, without a doubt, one of the world's most exciting cities. The Thai capital bursts with energy all year round. Days spent there fly by in a whirlwind of markets, temples, street food, and crazy traffic. In April, this excitement peaks as the city celebrates Songkran, the Thai New Year. Indeed, if you're looking for a good time, Bangkok in April is hard to beat. Songkran celebrations, centered around acts of cleansing, run from the 13th to the 15th of April. In temples, water is gently poured over Buddha statues to bring good fortune. All right, well, the good news is we have a 2-day article for you. And I say that's good news because we have a lot to cover, clearly from our title. Big Heat, Water Fights, and Street Feasts, Bangkok in April. Let's go!
Yes.
I have my water balloon ready, I have my towel ready, and I'm looking for a super soaker.
Yeah. Do you remember those? Those were so fun.
Those were good. I think that's something you probably need if you
so
go
too,
to this.
Yes.
So let's find out.
Yes, and so we see in our article as we jump right in, it says Bangkok is, without a doubt, one of the world's most exciting cities. The Thai capital bursts with energy all year round. And this is very true if you've ever been there. It is just one of those cities that is just always like hustling and bustling, and there's just people everywhere and cars everywhere and food everywhere, and just there's a lot going on all the time.
Absolutely. It feels like Taipei, Kaohsiung, many cities in Taiwan are always going, 24 hours a day. That probably doesn't compare with Thailand's capital, Bangkok. As you said, it bursts with energy all year round. So any time is really a good time to go, but April is extra special. It says days spent there fly by in a whirlwind of markets, temples, street food, and crazy traffic. This is a very good one-sentence description of the experience a lot of us as tourists might have, right? You go there and every day there's a lot to do, places to go. It's a whirlwind. It's like a typhoon or a storm, meaning just a lot of different things all happening at the same time. Markets, temples, street food, and lots of crazy tuk-tuks and scooters and cars and buses driving around. So yes, a whirlwind, that's actually kind of like a tornado, right? One of those spinning columns of wind. We would call that a whirlwind in nature, but we can also use it just to talk about a lot of activity, like a person's wedding day would be a whirlwind of activity. You wake up early, you got to get dressed, look nice, meet the parents, meet the relatives, do the wedding, then there's the dinner. By the end of it, you're exhausted. It's been a long, busy day. So it's a whirlwind of activity. But what about in April?
Well, it says in April, this excitement peaks as the city celebrates Songkran, the Thai New Year. Okay, so everywhere kind of has their own calendar, their own way of counting and things like that. And so different countries might have different types of New Year's, just like in Taiwan, where we celebrate the Lunar New Year, not on the New Year's Day, like January 1st, that we celebrate in other parts of the world. So Thailand also has a different New Year's, and that's in April, and that is this Songkran.
Interesting. I mean, the Lunar New Year here, Chinese New Year, it's often in the coldest part of the winter, but in Songkran in Thailand, it's in April, so it's actually really warm there for New Year's, which is, kind of unusual. But it says, indeed, if you're looking for a good time, Bangkok in April is hard to beat. In other words, they're kind of recommending going there in April. It's hard to beat. It's one of the best times to go to Bangkok during their Thai New Year celebrations known as Songkran. So what happens and when does this take place?
Well, as we see in the article, it says Songkran celebrations centered around acts of cleansing run from the 13th to the 15th of April. So here you can see this is where the water kind of comes into play because the idea of the Thai New Year is that you should be cleansed and clean everything out before you start the new year. So there's a lot of water involved because water in religion kind of equates to cleansing and clearing and cleaning and all that kind of stuff.
And in the real world too.
And true, yes.
Clean with water.
Yes, and so 13th to the 15th of April.
Okay.
Now we've got Songkran.
That's the time to go. All right. I mean, in some ways, Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, there's cleansing, right? We sweep out our homes and clean up. And, many people like to start the new year fresh, both in mind, body, and in their home. So in Thailand, they're using lots of water. And since it's so warm, that's not a bad thing. Having a water fight here in Taiwan during Lunar New Year, very cold.
Yeah, no thanks.
Don't want to do that, thank you. But in Thailand, April, sure. It says in temples, water is gently poured over Buddha statues to bring good fortune. They're cleaning the statues, getting rid of all the old stuff from last year, maybe some bad luck and stuff that built up, and they're going to start off fresh with these lovely statues. So not only will the statues be clean, but there's also this sort of religion idea of cleaning out your soul and your spirit and starting off fresh and new. But one of the things you'll do when you're cleaning things, maybe your body, maybe something out there in the world, is to pour water over top of it. And when you pour water or pour a liquid, and you will pour liquids, not solids, but you will pour liquids, you're basically gently letting something fall out of a container, all right? So think of a glass, think of a bottle. You don't want to drink from the bottle. You will pour the liquid from the bottle into the glass. You won't just dump it in there so it splashes everywhere. You do it with some control. You do it carefully. You have a bucket with water. You have a cup or a bottle or something like that. You might pour water over yourself if you don't have a shower, if you're camping or something like that, or in the bathtub. You pour it over your head when you're washing your hair. That's the idea here. Like Lana poured some orange juice into her glass, and then she probably enjoyed it.
Yeah, I probably drank it.
And so we're pouring water in the temples over statues.
Yes. A statue is just something that is carved or sculpted to stand for something. Usually, a lot of times it's like people or animals or things like that. And you will see statues in a variety of different materials, including maybe a wood statue or marble or gold or copper. It's all these different types of materials to just create something that is a image of whatever you might want to represent. So again, if you're in a religious area, like a church, you might see statues of Jesus. You might see statues of different saints. If you're just at like a national park, you might see statues of a bear. There's some big, huge statues of bears and things like that in some of the national parks in the US. So that is a statue. And as our example sentence says, in the park, there are some statues of very important people. Another example, like historic people that you want to remember, or they did something special in an area, you might put their statue there so that people can remember.
Sounds good. So these would be lovely little chubby little men, these Buddhas. They clean them off and the temple is ready for the new year, and we are ready for a break. So let's take that break and then we'll be back.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这次要介绍的旅游地点是泰国的首都曼谷，尤其是4月的曼谷。这个城市啊，一年到头都充满了活力。到了4月庆祝泰国新年泼水节的时候，这种兴奋就达到了巅峰。Sam 老师这时候用到 hustling and bustling 来描述熙熙攘攘的或者是喧闹吵杂的，这常常用来描述都市忙碌的生活形态。好，那泼水节庆祝活动是以净化为中心，从4月13日持续到4月15日，在寺庙里，人们就会把水轻轻地浇在佛像上，来带来好运。好，单字 pour 就有倒或是灌或者是倾泻的意思。Statue 表示雕像、雕塑。Sam 老师在解释单字时用到 sculpt 这个动词。sculpt sculpt 它是表达雕塑、雕刻或者是使具有什么样的形状。老师刚刚也有提到，在宗教里，水似乎就等同于净化、洁净。老师用到 equate equate 这个动词，它表示使相等或是等同。那再看到 cleanse 这个动词，它则有清洁、清洗或是净化的意思。那这边一个重点，我们进入文法时间。这边要介绍的是 be centered around something， 这是表达以什么为中心。center 当动词，它可以表达使以什么为中心，或者是使注意力集中于什么。那 center 可以当及物或不及物用，后面可以接介系词 around、round 或是 on 或 upon。那就来看看它的用法，可以用 something center around 或是 on 或是 upon 再加名词，或者是用 somebody center something around on upon 加名词。那我们看个例句 Helen centers her life around her children， 也可以说 Helen's life is centered around her children。 Helen 的生活以她的孩子们为中心。好，接华课文中。
On the streets, however, things are far less peaceful. Locals and tourists armed with buckets, hoses, and water guns do their best to soak each other in epic water battles. All in good fun, of course. The wildest water fights usually take place on Khao San Road, a busy street in the center of the city. This area is known for its cheap hotels, which attract young, fun-loving tourists from around the world. So, the water fights here are especially lively, and often accompanied by loud music and parties. Anyone taking part is almost certain to have the time of their life. All right, so we're getting a good little idea here of what it's like around Songkran, Thai New Year. A lot of people are doing things they do here during Lunar New Year, cleaning out their home, cleaning temples, getting a fresh start on the new year. That all sounds pretty normal and, you know, the kind of thing we've experienced here too. But, of course, we're in Bangkok and it's not Chinese New Year, it's Songkran. So it says next, on the streets, however, things are far less peaceful. We've had this sort of peaceful vision of cleaning homes and pouring water on Buddhas and, oh, isn't that all nice? But if you go out on the streets, it's totally different. Things are far less peaceful. There's a lot more action going on and maybe even fighting of some kind. Because if things are peaceful, there's no fighting. But if they're not peaceful, there's fighting. Yes. So what's going on?
Yes, in fact, there are water fights going on.
Oh, okay. That's a good kind of fighting.
And so it says, locals and tourists armed with buckets, hoses, and water guns do their best to soak each other in epic water battles.
Wow.
All in good fun, of course. And it doesn't just say water fight. it says a water battle, and it's
True.
very epic. So you can imagine that when we use these types of words to describe it, this is something that is giant. It's not like 3 kids in the backyard with water guns. It is an epic battle with hundreds and hundreds of people. Yes. And so they have buckets and they've got hoses. So they even get to use hoses. And a hose is...
That seems like cheating.
Yeah. Agreed. Because if you have an unlimited supply of water, I think you
bucket,
win.
I do 1 shot, a water gun, I got to fill it up again. But a hose is just water, 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 water.
And a hose is just basically a long kind of cylinder tube that you would connect to somewhere that has water coming out from pipes. And you plug it in and you can turn it on and off. Usually you have a hose in your house, especially if you have a backyard, and you can just turn the water on. Maybe you water your plants, or you spray the ground, or you clean your windows or anything like that, and that's called a hose. So using a hose at a water fight, again, seems a little bit like you just are kind of cheating. But
it would be like in a war having a gun attached to a bullet factory.
Yes.
And they just make bullets. You're just standing there like that. I mean, also think of firemen, firefighters, right? They use hoses to get the water from the truck or the road onto the building that is on fire, but it just goes and goes and goes and goes. I don't know if that's fair.
Yeah. In our example sentence for hose, it says, it is easier to water your plants with a hose than with a watering can, because you can just turn it on and then be done, rather than fill the bucket and pour and pour and pour and pour and then go back.
Exactly. Yeah. All right.
So
basically anything that can throw water from here to you is allowed, I think. And if you can get your hands on a hose, you will be king of the battlefield. Anyways, it says the wildest water fights usually take place on Khao San Road, a busy street in the center of the city. So if you want to get to the biggest battles, where there probably are literally thousands of people throwing water, spraying water, you want to go to this Khao San Road. It's a busy street in the center of the city. So everyone would know where this is, and that would be the place to go if you want to get involved in the biggest battles. But if you're not really into that, then maybe avoid the area. But why in that area?
Well, that's because, as we see, this area is known for its cheap hotels, which attract young, fun-loving tourists from around the world. So probably a lot of hotels, maybe some hostels that are even cheaper. And that's the area that a lot of people backpacking or young travelers, they all go there. And they're usually the ones who want to join in the fun.
I guess they would be some of the most enthusiastic water fighters, people on holiday from Taiwan, Korea, Japan, Australia, Europe, America, Canada, wherever. They would be a very international, it would be like World War Water.
Yes.
I guess we could call it that, water war. So it says the water fights here are especially lively and often accompanied by loud music and parties. So they're energetic, they're lively, and as you're spraying water, dance music is playing or something. I think I could probably handle this for about half an hour, and then I'd either have a headache or I would be too wet to continue. But it certainly wouldn't be boring. Boring is kind of the opposite of lively. Lively means full of action and activity and entertainment. If you have a party, you want it to be a lively feeling, a lively atmosphere. You don't want everyone to be like, when can I go home? No, lively is obviously the opposite, so it's energetic, full of fun. For example, the city always has a lively atmosphere at night. It's a really fun place to go. It's not one of those places where everything closes at 7 p.m. No, it's a place where the streets are busy, even late at night.
Yes, and we have this word accompany, and this just means go along with or go together with or come with something else. So for example, the cold weather was accompanied by thick snow. So we had cold weather and thick snow, and they're going together. So if one thing is accompanied by another thing, they come together as like a package deal, or they're both present at the same time. And as we see, anyone taking part is almost certain to have the time of their life. So this is going to be quite a lot of fun.
All right, I'm not sure about the time of their life, but I will agree that anyone taking part is almost certain to get really, really wet. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. But don't forget, there's more to do in Bangkok in April, and we're going to have all that stuff for you tomorrow. So dry yourself off, put your water pistols away, and please do join us for that.
在泼水节期间，可以在街道上看到大规模的水仗，手持水桶啊、水管还有水枪的当地人和游客尽情的把对方淋湿。那最疯狂的水仗通常会发生在考山路，这是一条位于市中心的繁忙街道，以廉价的旅馆闻名，吸引世界各地年轻爱玩的游客，所以那边的水仗特别热闹，通常也会伴随着这种喧闹的音乐啊，还有派对。而参与其中的人肯定会有难忘的时光。单字 hose 就表示水管。Sam 老师在解释单字时，他用到 cylinder 这个字 cylinder， 那这个名词它有圆柱状、圆柱体或是圆筒的意思。再看到 lively 是形容热烈的、活力充沛的。Accompany 则表示伴随和什么什么一起发生或存在，它也可以指陪伴、陪同的意思。刚刚说打水仗 ，Mike 老师有提到 battlefield， 就是 battle 跟 field 这两个字结合在一起，就可以用来指战场。好，那这边两个重点，我们进入文法时间。我们来看第一个重点是 be armed with something， 这是表达配备什么、提供什么。arm 当动词原本是指为什么提供武器装备，在这边可以表达具备、提供，像是具备所需要的知识啊、资讯、技能等等。例如 Our tour guide was armed with lots of information and fascinating stories。我们的导游具备丰富的资讯和引人入胜的故事。第二个重点是 take part， 表示参加、参与，之后可以接 in 加上名词或动名词，它就跟 participate in 或是 join in 的意思相同。例如 More than 10,000 people took part in the parade。超过1万个人参加那一场游行。好，那么以上这些讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Bangkok is, without a doubt, one of the world's most exciting cities. The Thai capital bursts with energy all year round. Days spent there fly by in a whirlwind of markets, temples, street food, and crazy traffic. In April, this excitement peaks as the city celebrates Songkran, the Thai New Year. Indeed, if you're looking for a good time, Bangkok in April is hard to beat. Songkran celebrations, centered around acts of cleansing, run from the 13th to the 15th of April. In temples, water is gently poured over Buddha statues to bring good fortune. On the streets, however, things are far less peaceful. Locals and tourists armed with buckets, hoses, and water guns do their best to soak each other in epic water battles. All in good fun, of course. The wildest water fights usually take place on Khao San Road, a busy street in the center of the city. This area is known for its cheap hotels, which attract young, fun-loving tourists from around the world. So, the water fights here are especially lively, and often accompanied by loud music and parties. Anyone taking part is almost certain to have the time of their life.
Hey, it's KiWi on the street.
I'm Kiki.
And I'm Winnie. And today I'm really excited because my friend is visiting me all the way from Arkansas.
What, Winnie?
You know the state in America, Arkansas?
You mean Arkansas?
Oh.
Looks like it's time to work on some pronunciation. Let's work on some pronunciations. All right, can you read this sentence for me, please?
The farm has a lot of produce.
The farm has a lot of produce.
What about this?
The factory produce cars.
The factory produces cars.
Yes, very good. What did we learn today?
Let's work on our pronunciations. There are some words that we pronounce them the same way, but because we change the emphasis of parts of the words, it changes the meaning. So for today, we have the word produce or produce. So when we emphasize the first half of produce with pro, then we're talking about the noun, meaning fruits and vegetables. So our example sentence is, the farm has a lot of produce. So let's change the emphasis to the second half of the word, produce. with deuce going upwards. And that is our verb that means to create or bring something forth. So for example, the factory produces cars. And that's all we have for today. Kiwi later.